Let me get this stuff off here. Let me see. Ouch. Ow, ow, ow. So, y'all, I just decided to come in here and to basically answer some of the questions. Someone sent me an email, and I love my bubbles. Some people come in here and they be like, no, don't put those bubbles and stuff on you. And I do every time, only because, I just do. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go ahead really, really quick and just put beam on here, rest my arm here, and I'm going to answer these few little questions very, very, very quickly. So, the first question that I was asked in the email was, what was my first job? So, I actually started working when I was 12 years old, born in a home with a mother who was a single parent. And my mother struggled for everything, struggled in everything with everything she did so that she was able to take care of her children and provide for us the best way that she knew how. And so there were times when we went without things. There were. There were times when we went without things. There were times when we wanted things and definitely couldn't have them. But overall, I can tell you that I lived a really, really good life. In addition to that, I'm grateful because some people have never seen their parents. They never got to know their parents. They never, for whatever reason, okay? So, my first job, my mother always, 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 from the time I was a little girl, I can remember going to a babysitter. And we had these babysitters in our life when we were really, really young because my mother was a single parent. So, work ethic was put in my mind at a very, very young age. And so my first job, actually, most people would probably expect to hear McDonald's, or some people might expect to hear the local grocery store or the movie theater or some other hamburger joint place or whatever. My thank you for the like, my actual first job was, excuse the puppies, I was a paper girl. Yep. Myself and my sister, I have an older sister. She's about a year and she's a year and let me see, I'm trying to, there we go. She's a year, I don't want to miss no comments. She is a year and about 9 days older than me. My birthday is July the 22nd. My sister's birthday is July the 31st. Okay, so we're real close. We're what they call Irish twins. Sorry, y'all know me and these lips. So anyway, yes, I was a paper girl. You know how you had paper boys back in the day? I was a paper girl. At 12 years old, my sister and I went to my mother that we wanted to make our own money and what was a way that we could do it. Well, at 12 years old in the state of California, you can't be working. But we were able to work I'm trying to call, okay, we were able to work as paper girls. And let me explain something to you about the paper girl situation. Number one, we had to get up earlier than what we usually got up. So where me and my sister went to middle school, there was from our home to the school, it would probably only take you about 10 minutes to get there. But wow, 11, 12. Yep. And I just found out that it was actually called Irish twins. But we had to, my sister and I had to walk to school. 10 minutes away, no big deal. I come from a very, 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 very overprotective family. And I can get into that. If you all want me to do a story time tomorrow about my upbringing and everything, I could do that. I'm trying to get like Shanique's dream, and be consistent about this thing. I really, really am. But it makes it so hard when you're in so many different things, y'all. I do a lot of stuff. I'm not just, and not to say that anybody else is just sitting at home and not doing anything. That's not what I'm saying. But I just have a lot of stuff to do, and trying to fit the videos in sometimes can be so hard. But I do what I say that I'm going to do. So we were paper girls, literally at about 5 o'clock in the evening. There would be someone who would come. They would drop off the newspapers. They would drop off the rubber bands and the plastic bags that those papers had to be put in if it rained. You only got a plastic bag if it rained or it had rained the day before. We, my sister and I, Tish, we were chased by dogs. My sister always used to accuse me of trying to be always are trying to be cute in front of boys and stuff. And what we would do is usually, I believe, if I can remember, if my memory serves me correctly, we actually delivered to close to 150 houses in our neighborhood. Yes. So we would have to, if it was on the weekday, we would have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, the night before, you still had to do what you had to do in our household. I was raised in a household where you had chores, and you definitely had chores because my mother was a single parent. We had smaller siblings, younger siblings. So we had to ensure that when my mother was at work, when my mother was at school, that they were eating, that they were taking their bath. And then we had cousins that ended up moving in with us who were close to the age of our younger siblings, and we had to take care of them as well. Their parents, unfortunately, were incarcerated. And my mother, being the oldest daughter, was told by my mother's mother that she better get those children before they go into a foster home. Because my grandmother couldn't do it. She was too old by that time. Long story short, we would roll the papers up. That usually took about an hour, hour and a half, depending on what we were getting into, whether we were looking at TV, whether we were, and it was really crazy because on Wednesdays there was always an insert for the ad, right? And so you would have to make sure that you put the insert in the newspaper for Wednesday. And if you didn't, people would complain. There were some people who would be right at their door when we were delivering. There were some people who knew we were coming to deliver the paper and would have their dogs out of there. People can be evil, and they definitely can be evil with kids, right? But the one thing my mother told us was, you have a job to do. And your job is to deliver the papers, be kind to people. If anything is out of whack, leave that basket, because that's what we did. We got a grocery basket and just pushed it down the street and threw our papers on the right and the left of us. And when me and my sister were mad at each other, we still knew that we had a job that we would do. So, yeah, I was a paper girl. And that started me to working. That was at 12 years old. That summer, because my birthday is July the 22nd, I turned 13. And I believe back then they had a program called the Summer Youth Employment Program, which is probably something that is different in different states. It's probably called something different in different states. I believe you had to be, you know what? Let me explain something to you about people. And I say this with all loving kindness. You, whoever you are, don't get to inflict that on me. It's my choice whether or not I'm going to receive or allow you to inflict that on me. I'm happy in my life. I'm happy in my life, and the hope is that you are too. And what can I do to get you there? What can I do to help you to know that it feels good on this side to be happy? What can I do to walk you into the same direction that I'm in? Because you're miserable, you want company. We can be company, but I don't like misery. So it's so sad. The world is crazy. People are doing things that right? People are doing things that, I mean, it makes you sorry, my battery is low. It makes you sad to even send your children to school. Because people are so crazy. I'm looking for my plug. Cause see this phone right here? It think it's cute. It'll cut off on me in a minute. Um, but yeah, people are just crazy. They are, and they can be crazy by themselves. I'm not doing it. You go on with your crazy self and do what you do. So the second question was there? Oh, honey, I know I got to get my phone charger. Was there ever any tension between either me with either of my parents? Well, most people know that I was raised in a single parent home. So because I was raised in a single parent home, obviously that tells you know that I didn't have much tension with my dad because my dad wasn't around. My dad, I grew up in, please homeschool your children. Anybody that is able to homeschool their children, please homeschool them. I'm going to see if I can finish this video, Shanique. I'm going to try to plug it up and talk directly, really loud into my phone. It should work because it does on Clubhouse, but sometimes YouTube will act up when I am trying to talk. Hold on real quick, y'all. Gotta plug this stuff up. And sometimes YouTube will act up real crazy when I am trying to use my speaker. These dogs acting up. So I'm gonna be talking. I'm gonna be talking a little loud so that you can hear me. Okay? I don't want to have the phone up 3D on my face, but can you hear me, Shanique? Can you hear me? Oh, shoot. Because I don't want to. Oh my goodness, my ear itching too from those earrings. So there was tension. There was definitely tension in my family between, I would say, tension as a teenage girl being raised in my household. Okay, good. Tension as a teenage girl being raised in my household, yes, there was a lot of tension. Part of the tension I had was toward my mom, but it wasn't because I was trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. It wasn't. It really wasn't. Part of the tension that I had with my mom is that I am my mother's twin. So the way I acted with my mouthiness and my snappiness and not wanting to deal with people, I sound far away. Mm. See, that's how it is. That I think what I sound kind of far away. That I think I want to go ahead and just do a video. I was trying to do the live, but I don't want it to. You know what? If it cuts off, it just cut off, and I'll come back on. Cause I don't every time. I don't know why. I've even contacted Apple. You can hear what I'm saying. I know, but I don't want it to be sounding like I'm in a tunnel. I can't stand that. I can't stand when it sounds like you are in a tunnel. So, long story short, yes, I have had tension with my mom, and I think it was probably because I was a teenage girl trying to find myself, trying to, know what I was going to do in my life. I had some childhood trauma. I had some things that had happened to me, and I didn't think as a young girl that they were being rectified the way that they should have. So there was. And sometimes teenage girls and their parents will have conflict. I had none with my dad because unfortunately, I'll put my hand up here. unfortunately, unfortunately, my dad lived in Alabama. I was not raised by him. I was raised by my mom. And so I didn't get to see my dad that much for about 6 or 7 years of my life. I didn't even know who my dad was because I had never went to Alabama. By that time, we were starting to go to Alabama to visit my grandma, and I ended up meeting my dad. And after that, after being 6 years old, meeting my dad, then I knew who my dad was. I went back to California knowing I had a dad, and we kept in touch. We fell off sometimes, kept in touch. Unfortunately, just before my father died, about a year and a half is when we decided to get close. But at least I have the memories. Do I have children? Absolutely. I actually have four. I have three biological children. I have Nay, who is my daughter. I have Dub. I'm only giving you nicknames. I have Chris, and I have Cardi. So Nay, Dub, Chris, and Cardi. And Cardi is my bonus baby. I love him just like I love them, but it's a special love. When I wrote my books, I dedicated my books to my children, but I gave Cartier something special in what I said because he really is special to me. He really is. He is now about to be 23, and I met him when he was 12. So God is good. God is so, so good. So yeah, I've got four children. Four. I have three that I had biologically. My first one, C-section. My second one, I had what was called VBAC, where you have a regular childbirth, the way that God intended for us to have it. And then I came back and had my third one and had to have another cesarean. Homelessness in California. And how do I feel about the homelessness in the state of California? So, the homelessness in the state of California, as it is everywhere, is out of control. I believe that our legislators, our lawyers, all of our the lawmen, all of the people who have a say so, who make good money to take care of us, our representatives, all of them, I believe they're sitting on the seat of do nothing. And the reason I believe that they are doing that is because don't nobody want their money touched. Now, when you think of it, when you really, really think of it, I'm saying in New York, I'm saying in California, I'm saying in Canada, whatever country, whatever state, whatever providence we are referring to, homelessness is real. But guess what? One in every 10 homeless person is a veteran. They served in war. That should not be. I used to work for the government. When I worked for the government, I was told, it's sad, but it's true. It's so sad, but it's very true. I was told by those guys, the older guys, they were like, I was told when Champus was here that we were never going to have to worry about our hospital care. We were never going to have to worry about it. And here it was in the 90s. And now when they were in the military as senior citizens, here they are having to not pay for their care, but they had to pay for their wife's care. So basically, exactly. So basically, the hospital that I worked from was a military hospital. I was responsible for setting people up for their health care. So basically, I was a healthcare provider. You would come into the hospital, you'd go over to the right hand side, depending on what direction you went in. There were 5 windows. You walk up to the window. Oftentimes, people would be at my window because I'm a people person. When I connect with you, which is everywhere I go, I meet strangers nowhere. Okay. And I would get your information, verify your information. If you just got married, set your wife up to be seen. If that woman was an active duty wife and her husband was active duty, they didn't have to pay. But once they got out of the military, whether they got out of the military after 20 plus years or not, that active duty person, that retired active duty person, would not have to pay. But all of his siblings, and it's like that still today, all of his children and the siblings, the children, they do. The health care in the state of California in regards, and I'm sure all other kind of states, but I'm only speaking about California because I live here, is this. It's horrible how our veterans are being treated. We have veterans who are dealing with mental illness, and granted, as a veteran, you do have the ability to go to the veterans building. You have the ability to be seen and things of that nature. But when you're mentally ill, you don't always remember those things that are available to you. I just wish with the homeless, not only for the sake of the veterans, but just people in general. There are people here in the state of California that you can see outside of Motel 6 hotel rooms saving and begging for money so that they can have a night to stay in a hotel with their children. I know that at one time California had a program called a homeless program, and this program was for those who are homeless. And what it is they had to, I'm looking around because if I have my earbuds, I might be able to stay on. They have, what they have to do is they have to meet certain requirements, and then they're able to help them and assist them in getting housing. Because of the moratorium, I always say more, but the moratorium that just passed, a lot of people are homeless. Those persons who haven't been evicted, those persons who are looking for a place to stay, they want you to come with a year's month of a year's worth of all your information to verify. Even if you have a pay stub showing that you have worked a year, anybody, it don't take no rocket scientist to see if you're on a salary or if you're on hourly. If you take the hourly times the hour you work, the hours you worked, it gives you what you're going to be paid on your payday, correct? At the other side, it has year to date. Year to date means what you have made thus far, right? No. They want you to have 6 months to a year. So it's a lot of hassle that's going on, not only in the state of California, but just all over. But homelessness as a whole in the state of California is heart wrenching. It's heart wrenching for me, for everybody. I'm very compassionate and sensitive person, so it breaks my heart. The city that I live in right now, one of the most detrimental things for me to see is to see a person who is homeless not sleeping on a sidewalk, because I've gotten used to that. That's sad. But to have a street and to have a bus lane for the bus to get in and two other lanes, but right where that bus stop is, to have somebody living right next to the bus stop. I mean, living. I'm talking about all your belongings set up in the middle of the street on a median. Dangerous. So no, I wish that the government could do more. I know that the government can do more. It's just that the government is greedy. Let me explain something else to you that I know about the government. And I know this because I worked for the government or for a government contractor. When the people who, and I'm talking about representatives, the representatives up in your states. I'm talking about mine, which would be Sacramento. Do you know how much money those persons make a year? They're sitting on 6 salary figures, okay? Specifically those that work with the president, okay, and they're representatives of the state. They make good money. Let me explain something to you. The military right now has to pay when they get out of the military to maintain their health care, as I told you before. Not the one who served active duty. The retiree doesn't. but his wife and their children, if their children are underage, because by the time a child turns 23, if they're not going to school, their care does not continue. If they are mentally challenged or they have autism or something like that, it does continue. But it's a lot of riffraff that is included in that. But what I'm saying is for a military person to have to pay for their care when they get monies taken away from them, their retirement is nothing like when they're in the military. They get a fraction of that. Okay? In addition to that, yeah, if they give 20 some odd years or more with good behavior, yeah, they can always go in the commissary and they don't have to pay taxes. Yeah, they can always go here into what I call a city within a city. But it's always a catch with it. A 5-year old autistic son. So I don't know a whole bunch about it. 6, okay. I don't know a whole bunch about it, but I have a friend who had an autistic son, and I know that autism is on several different. I don't want to say, I guess spectrums is how you say it. Several different, you can have one on the higher end, you can have one on the lower end. But I can tell you something. They some special people because what it is they don't understand, what it is they can't grasp. I can tell you one thing. It's something that they know that they can explain better than you and I can. So that's my take on homelessness. It's out of control. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a video on the homelessness in California. Um, this gentleman said I seem like an interesting person. I am who I am. I'm just Carol. I try to come as honest as I can before y'all, and I always leave the door open within reason. If you want to know something about me, ask me, and I'll do a video on it. Um, that said, Shanique, since you're the only one in here, is there anything that you want to know, love, before I go off? I'm kind of trying to stretching my hair out because he is so smart. He doesn't talk too much. He goes to speech and occupational therapist. And see, that's what I'm talking about when I say different spectrums. Some of them don't speak. Some of them don't speak, but but you said he's smart. So there's some areas that he's mastered, and the speaking, he's learning it. There are some who speak and they repeat themselves. There are some who speak and they've got the little nervous conditions and the things like that. What got me is I was concerned about someone I know and love being autistic. And so I looked at a video on YouTube. I love my YouTube. And I looked at the video on YouTube and it just really, really grasped me because they were actually showing a person with autism walking down the street by themselves. It wasn't literal, it was a cartoon character, but they were trying to show you this so that you could see what it looks like to a person with autism. And that little cartoon person was walking down the street. They were scared. The sounds were all loud. And I was like, oh. But like I said, it's different spectrums. What might bother one might bother the other. But the one thing I want to say about autism, I don't call people retarded. I call mentally challenged. And the reason I don't call retarded is because number one, it's rude. And number two, my mother has worked with people who were challenged for years. I never got to there were people on the bus, there were people at school who made fun of persons who were mentally challenged. I never did. And the reason I never did is because my mother would have beat the brakes off me, number one. My mother was a nurse. She was a nurse, and then she went from being LVN. She went to being RN, and then after an RN, my mother went to school for social work. Then my mother went to school for pro, criminal justice, and my mother retired a couple of years ago, a few years ago, quite a few years ago, with an injury on her job, because my mother probably would have still been working at the probation officers. My mother was a senior juvenile probation officer. So always been in a position where she had a spirit and a servitude of helps, just like me. But yeah, I just wish, you want to know something about me? I think the most important thing to know about me is that I really honestly wish we lived in a kinder world. We're living in a world where people are just literally haters. And I don't mean haters in the sense of being a hater because of the way she looks or a hater because he drives a nice car. That's not the type of hater I'm talking about. The hater I'm talking about is hate. They just hate existence. They just hate their being. They just hate being here. That's sad. I don't ever want to be that person. I think that life is truly what we make it. Everybody is not dealt a bad deck of cards. It's how you play them. Are you going to allow those cards to just fall down and that house to just die? Or are you going to pick up the pieces and work with what it is you got? That's the way I look at things. So, just wanted to say that. Y'all be blessed, be strengthened, and be encouraged. I'll be back on here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. So I'll be back on here tomorrow after my prayer class. I have gotten into the point of doing my makeup videos. So I'm doing this. I didn't do a makeup video on YouTube. So tomorrow I'll do a blue makeup look. It usually takes me about 2 hours when I do it. But the hope is that people will come in. They are watching the videos. So good night, my dear. You have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Be blessed.